about conscience and all of that. There was a senior member of Victory Wesleyan Holiness Church that had cash in hand, ready to purchase this land for the construction of the church. So when I'm hearing about this $28,000 coming from the church and the church can't afford it, it is far, far, far from the truth. And I want to extend the invitation that came from the Honourable Member for St. George South to the Leader of the Opposition to join the Honourable Leader, myself, and the good people of Sergeant Street, including Adico, because you spoke about family, and this is a family church. So I want you to be there with Mr. Deputy Speaker. I want the Honourable Member to be there because this is a story that will be told throughout St. John. But I'm pleased that Victory will be finally getting the opportunity to construct their church because, like I said, this started in 2018. And then they indicated they were even prepared to construct a small community center on the same premises to facilitate the youngsters who reside in Bathland and Welch. But I'm happy now that the former church, the small church, will be converted into a community center to benefit those people at Welch. So when I hear Mr. Deputy Speaker, the Leader of the Opposition, ranting and raving about this church in Bathland, he really is out to sea in relation to that. And if it is a case where, like I said, you have these aspirations of coming to St. John, recently there was a debate in here, and I'm suggesting that we create another constituency in Culpeper Island. Is looking really good for you. Mr. Deputy Speaker, the truth is that there's a need for us to have, and I know other members on this side are asking about community centers, and this one is needed in Welch. I was there last week, and I spoke to some youngsters in the area who identified a couple of training programs that they want to come within the village, and my ministry will facilitate those training programs that are coming to Victory as it is now. Mr. Speaker, this church, as mentioned by the Honourable Member for St. George South, is one that people from all in the area, Sergeant Street, Bathland, the same Welch, Coach Hill, will gravitate to. And I really, really support this because it is overdue. 2018, 6-7 years later, we're now seeing it cross the finish line. And this community center, like the other community centers on island, Mr. Speaker, we are doing a number of things through my ministry to empower communities and the young people and elderly people within the communities. In recent times, we would have started something at the Ministry of Youth, Sports and Community Empowerment called the Center Management Committees, Mr. Deputy Speaker. What am I speaking about? These center management committees will provide an opportunity for those community centers to open past 4:30 when regular staff is exiting to go home. And we're asking for 6 individuals from within the locale of the community center to come on board and to manage the community centers up to 11, 12 o'clock at night. That will provide an opportunity for those individuals who are involved in culture, who are involved in any kind of wholesome activity to carry on these particular events within that location. To date, Mr. Speaker, we have 12 center management committees in place. And we expect to build out all of those community centers with the center management committees. It is important to note, Mr. Speaker, that in recent time as well, my ministry would have embarked on a program called the Community Empowerment Program. And we're using the community centers to make sure that we can reach as many young people on island as possible. This community engagement program, we are partnering with the National Insurance Scheme, we are partnering with the Barbados Revenue Authority, the Barbados Workers Union, and Sagicor to provide our young people across the island with an opportunity for those who don't have a TAMIS number, for those who want to start a bank account. All of this information is contained in these particular interventions that we're doing across the island. Project Dawn is one of those initiatives from my ministry that is looking to empower our youngsters on the blocks across Barbados. We are currently in the SJPI, BCC, Palmarine, and the Vocational Training Board. But it is coming to a stage, Mr. Speaker, where we're expanding, and these same community centers will provide satellite locations for us to further expand the training of our young people across this country. So when I hear the Honourable leader of the opposition speaking about Welch, he has absolutely no information about Welch. And I dare the Honourable member to walk Sergeant Street from today, tomorrow, whenever, in relation to what you did to that youngster. And we're talking family life, sir, that revolves around our community centers, and I want you to do that. Both of you are invited to the church at Wealth when Adico is back on island. Both of you. Because I am saying to you that you can't start this way in the constituency of St. John. This belief that the Democratic Labour Party can tie something to anything and send it into St. John is no longer happening. It's no longer happening. So you can come in here and talk about the bank and all this stuff. What you need to do is to come and represent Christchurch South. I have not heard you put forward a single case for Mr. Deputy Speaker.
Yes, sir.
A single case for that particular constituency that the man represented for 2 terms. Yes, the Honourable member, sorry. So, Mr. Deputy Speaker, I fully support this resolution because it is a victory for the church, it is a victory for the people of Bath, who not so long ago, as the Honourable member would have mentioned, received their conveyances for land in that area. St. John is rising, and no rat can stop St. John from rising. I am obliged.
Thank you, sir. Honourable member for St. George North.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker. And I rise to make a very brief intervention as I support the resolution before us. As one who grew up in the Wesleyan Holiness Church and who has seen the expansion of the church, of the congregations in the Wesleyan Holiness Church, and who has seen how the church over time has gone from the small chattel-type wooden structures, and how a lot of the Wesleyan Holiness churches across the District of Barbados have been able to expand their congregations, and so the buildings to meet the expanded congregation is one that I have seen and I have appreciated over time. Mr. Deputy Speaker, a church should never find itself in a position where it is looking to anyone for handouts. Indeed, the Bible urges support for the less fortunate, and so there's always appreciation for those who look out for the needs of others that they consider to be less fortunate. But the Bible also emphasizes responsibility and hard work. It also encourages faith. And indeed, Mr. Deputy Speaker, for those of us who have grown up in the church, and particularly in small churches, we appreciate the value of those lessons of responsibility and hard work. As one who spent most of her time in the Wesleyan Church, but not only in the Wesleyan Church, in 2 small Wesleyan Holiness churches, one in St. John and one in St. George. And as one who can appreciate the expansion and the responsibility and the commitment to hard work and the commitment to sacrificing, I think I can speak a bit on it. As a member of one of those churches, the one in St. George, I remember that there was the need seen to purchase a church bus at one time. And I don't know how many people in here who grew up in the Pentecostal church know about something called, know about the different fundraising events that you do, and something called rallies. We would call them rallies, where the church, a small church, a membership of 40 people or 50 people will be divided up into groups. You go and do your fundraising, and you come in and do a church rally around something. On that occasion, it was a church bus. Mr. Deputy Speaker, a small church in rural St. George undertook a rally after weeks and weeks and weeks of fundraising and so on. And we were able to raise the money to buy a church bus and then owe a bank a cent for it. That same small church needed to repair its roof, an asbestos roof, and needed to replace it. And that small church, through rallies and other interventions, raised enough money to purchase the materials to repair their own church roof. The first church, the one that I was baptized in, or what we would call christening, that church was a small chattel church on the front road in an area called Edgecliff in St. John. And that church at capacity was less than 100 people it would hold. If you go to the same spot where the church is located on, you will see a lovely 2-story building that did not come from handouts, but came from a church that was committed to working hard, dedicated to working hard, and understood what responsibility and self-help is. Of course, if there was a setting where an offer was made to a church, I don't think that there's any church or any institution, if it's being offered something that is good, that will help, would say no to it. But at the same time, a church is never in a position where it is walking around looking for handouts, because the church understands, as we have been taught, that it is our responsibility to help others. And so I think that it is with a certain measure of scorn that anyone would spend so long trying to look down on a church. And I heard the word little mentioned no fewer than 4 times. Look down on a little church in a little community of Welsh Village, in a little parish of St. John, to formulate a kind of opinion that the church must get a handout, or the church looking for freeness, because anyone listening carefully may even misinterpret, Mr. Deputy Speaker, that somebody in that church or somebody on the Wesleyan Holiness District is pushing for handouts, is pushing for freeness. Now, what is before us is that the church has been able to acquire 26,228.42 square feet at a value of $28,000, which, if we do the math, puts it at just above $1 per square foot. And Mr. Speaker, I know that the Honourable Member for St. John, when he spoke, raised the fact that there was a member of the church who was ready and willing to make the payment for the church, and maybe make the payment for even more. So I don't think, Mr. Speaker, I think that we run actually a very dangerous risk of underestimating people and looking down on people. And the Honourable Member for St. John touched on it when he said that there is a perception that anything thrown at people that we consider little and small-minded and from small places and therefore being of no significance. There is a calculation on anybody's part who thinks that smallness means small-mindedness or inability or unwillingness or incapacity to deal with one's own affairs. And as some person who not only grew up in the Wesleyan Holiness Church, but grew up in the parish of St. John, I take particular offense to it. Because the people of St. John have shown that no longer will they be willing to settle just for any and everything packaged in something that it wants new. And the time for that demonstration, Mr. Speaker, will come again. And I just want to urge anyone who is listening out there that the Wesleyan Holiness Church has never been in the practice of begging. It has never been in the practice of looking for handouts. And it has always been in developing not only the spiritual capacity of the people within its congregations, but catering to their social needs, and expanded facilities are put to very good use, Mr. Deputy Speaker, at all times to ensure that it delivers in those respects to people who are dependent on the church as a cornerstone of this society to deliver. And so, Mr. Speaker, I venture off from there to say to the Honourable Member for St. George South, the Honourable Minister of Housing, that another small community in a very small rural parish, the parish of St. George, and particularly in the area of St. George North, would also look forward to the time where it has the opportunity to make good use of the building funds that have been raised to direct it towards the purchase of land so that it too can expand its facility. And I speak of the church, the Wesleyan Holiness Church too, at Flat Rock in the lovely parish of St. George. We too look forward to that opportunity where we can get the opportunity to put funds raised to the use that it was intended to continue to contribute to spreading the gospel and catering to the needs of people in our community. So I speak, I believe, not only for the church at Victory, Wesleyan Holiness in St. John, but also for the church at Flat Rock Wesleyan Holiness, Woburn Wesleyan Holiness, which looks forward in short time to being in a similar position of celebration and thanksgiving like the church at Victory. And I speak for the Wesleyan Holiness Church, I believe, a church I grew up in. I don't need to speak to the board of management of the church, but I believe that the general superintendent of the church, the general superintendent who's responsible not only for Barbados, but the Caribbean district, will be joining with me in celebration that a church can purchase a piece of land for just over $1 per square foot to spread and expand its calling and its contribution to the development of souls within this country. And before I sit, Mr. Deputy Speaker, I also make mention of the fact that in the same way the Wesleyan Church looks forward to contributing to the social upliftment and the overall well-being of souls within its community and within our society, that so too the church generally has a responsibility to follow this good example in expanding and the use of its resources to help and uplift people. And in so making that point, Mr. Deputy Speaker, I also look forward to the time where the church in the parish of St. George, as it relates to the glebe lands, that the church could make good haste and good use of every effort that it has within its power. That in the same way government looks and works hard to deliver title to people who are less fortunate, that the church will continue and accelerate actually its efforts in connection with delivering to the people of St. George who have been renting glebe lands for years and decades and generations of families, that they too can get title. We started the process through the Ministry of Housing to ensure that these lands have been transferred. I know that over 140 titles have been transferred. And we also look forward to the day where reciprocity, not only the church being willing to purchase, not only government being able to assist the church in feeding the flock, but also the church fulfilling totally its obligation to accelerate its efforts to give towards the cause of ensuring that people can enjoy good, affordable housing that they can pass on from one generation to the next. So, Mr. Speaker, with that contribution, I'm wholly supporting the resolution, and I look forward to many more churches and institutions who are contributing in a very positive way to the society, being able to take advantage of any opportunity that it can have to have lands available to it that it could put to very good use to further the development of the people within this country. Mr. Deputy Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you. Honourable Member for St. Peter.
Thank you very much, Mr. Deputy Speaker, and I am pleased to be able to address you while contributing a little bit to this debate on this particular resolution. When the resolution was discussed in the parliamentary group, when it was put on the order paper, a resolution that speaks to transferring land to a religious organization, for me it was a sobering thought. You know, it was a situation that caused me to recognize that the development of a country is a shared responsibility. It is not one that a government can do on its own, a political party can do on its own. There has to be that partnership between the various organs in a society, but including, and very importantly, the church. It was sometimes you hear little squeaks. Sometimes, Mr. Deputy Speaker, you hear little squeaks.
Or loud ones sometimes.
Little squeaks. As though a country can develop without a credit union, without a church, without a bank, without these entities working together. Now, Mr. Deputy Speaker, I started by saying that in considering the resolution, I recognize that the resolution itself took into consideration the joint nature of national development. What was a little troubling, maybe a lot troubling, and I say this both as a Christian, but also as a minister responsible for religious affairs. Ordinarily, we would not use either faith or the institutions of faith as political playthings. What we heard today from the Honourable Member from Christchurch South, the Honourable Member of Christchurch South, sorry, not from Christchurch South, but of Christchurch South, and I have, Mr. Deputy Speaker, nothing to say about St. John, because in the last by-election, I was, well, in the press briefing or conference before that, I was taken to task for speaking the truth. And I don't want to be taken to task again for speaking that truth. So I'm not saying anything about moving from Christchurch South to St. John. I'm not saying anything about, I'm not using any adjective. I'm not quoting anything. But when the Honourable Member for Christchurch South can drag an institution of faith into a political exercise in attempting to first discredit the request of the organization, the faith organization, also attempting to put down the way that faith organizations operate. It said to me there is some element of desperation involved, but there's also, and that desperation might be on the political side, but there's also, it brought home to me that religious certification is not equal to religious understanding or understanding of religious institutions. So I'll explain why I say what I just said. When organizations in the faith community move to construct, to purchase, those that are part of larger organizations, so there are congregations of larger organizations. The first principle that is used by these organizations is that we do things collectively. The second, also important consideration is that religious organizations are premised, are based on faith. And I talk about religious faith. Faith in the God that the members serve. There is always the recognition that God has provided for us to be able to acquire that which we need to acquire. Now, a religious organization will not expect that somebody will jut out their eyes, but they expect to be able to be treated reasonably. And in this case, if the Honourable Member for Christchurch South had spoken to the leader of the congregation in the area where they tell me that he is seen, you know, the people in Christchurch South are saying they're wondering why he is in St. John so much. But if in the time when he is there, he had spoken to the leader of the congregation, he would have found out, and it only took a question really, because the gentleman is always willing to speak. I think like most pastors are, willing to speak and to share of their faith and of their beliefs and to share their thoughts generally. That's how they're brought up, that's how they're trained, that is their calling. He would have found out that the members of this congregation are happy with the decision of the government and are anxious for this transaction to be finalized so that they can take possession. Now, these organizations, Mr. Deputy Speaker, faith organizations, are ready to work with all other agencies in a state, in a country, to develop the country. One of the issues that faith organizations have is the matter of having facilities that they can use for all of the programs that those organizations want to execute. The partnership between the church or faith organizations, and I shouldn't specify just the church, I'm speaking to faith organizations generally. The partnership between religious organizations, organizations based on faith, and a country is one that recognizes, and there was much mention about tithing today, So maybe we should share that the way this country operates is that when a person, a member of a faith community, contributes to that faith community, the government already in law has said that which you have contributed, we will not tax it. We will not tax it. So there is that recognition that this is a partnership. And so the members of faith communities work with government, and I know this from an example pretty close to me in St. Peter, and the Honourable Member for St. Andrew would be familiar with this. Very early in our tenure as government, Barbados Civil Party in the government did something similar in Indian ground. Now, at that time, the Honourable Member who said today that he is always in Parliament, he would remember that that transfer took place. There was a purchase price. That price was paid. And the reason why I say that church organizations work together is because the congregation that I attend is also in St. Peter. And all of the organizations around were there, ready to assist. We knew what was happening, ready to assist, so that when the purchase transaction was to take place, everybody would pitch in. That is how the organizations work. And if it is just for educational purposes, I'm prepared to do it, to share with the Honourable Member for Christchurch South, that is how church organizations operate. They understand that facilities are needed in order to execute the program of the church. That those programs that are geared to address the spiritual component of persons, but not just the spiritual, also the physical and the psychological and the financial and the social, and all of these different and varied components of a person that make up the total person. It addresses the whole person. These programs are holistic, and that is the reason why these organizations would want to have the facilities to be able to execute the programs. And so when a government, including this government, works to transfer land at very small amounts to organizations of faith, it is understanding that these organizations are contributing to national development, whether it is in Welsh, whether it is in Indian ground, wherever it is in this country. These organizations want to contribute. And so they are contributing. They want to have these facilities. They have put aside funds. There are many, many persons, members of these congregations, who have put aside funds, and the funds are just sitting, waiting for these transactions to pass through the House of Assembly so that they can have their facility to be able to work with the people in the location where they are and to be able to contribute to the growth and development of individuals, of communities, of societies, and ultimately of the nation. I want to say something before I sit, Mr. Deputy Speaker, about the matter of the call for the church to be more active in society. Now, there are those who would want to mislead.
Control yourself, sir.
Sorry, Mr. Deputy Speaker.
I was asking him to control himself.
Oh, I didn't even realize he was saying something. But I heard the Honourable Member for Christchurch South say that you are good, Mr. Deputy Speaker, but I didn't realize you were that good. I did not realize he was actually saying something. Okay, but thank you very much, Mr. Deputy Speaker, for alerting me of that. Not necessarily I wanted to know, but I really did not recognize, there was nothing of substance coming from that area of the Honourable Chamber, so I didn't recognize that there was something happening. But there was this matter of speaking about criticizing the church. Now, I feel that I can speak to this matter. And I will say that calling on a church, calling on a religious institution to be more active in the community is not a criticism of a church. But I will also say, Mr. Deputy Speaker, that it is often not known the extent to which some religious organizations are working, and so in their communities. And so I probably would not call on the church to do more, but I appreciate the call for the church to do more. And what I would want to say to you, Mr. Deputy Speaker, is that I would call on the church, and I know that churches do not like going in this direction. There is a reluctance by churches to put everything that they're doing in the public domain. And I agree with churches in taking that position. I agree with them in taking that position. Churches will not operate like some others maybe commercial entities that advertise, that sponsor, and that do so to get the publicity. But I will want to challenge religious institutions, churches, and other religious institutions to ensure that their works are recognized. Not that they do anything for recognition, but I think it is important that communities and that the country generally becomes aware of the work that is being done by faith-based organizations. I think it is important for a number of reasons, but I will just say it is important. I'll speak to one reason. It is important that communities, that the nation generally recognizes that faith-based organizations, all like now, are contributing significantly to the development of individuals in our societies, to the development of families in our societies, to the development of villages and communities in our societies. That is happening all like now, even with limited physical resources, limited infrastructural resources. These organizations, these churches, these congregations are doing significant work. It is important while that work is taking place that the communities that may not be recognizing it be made aware of it. And so I know, as a person of faith, speaking through you, Mr. Deputy Speaker, to people of faith, I know that you will not want, and I will say that we will not want to appear to be making these things just for PR purposes. But let us make sure that our country is aware of the work that we are doing. Okay. Let our communities be aware of the work that we are doing in our communities. Now, Mr. Deputy Speaker, the relationship between the church and religious organizations, but I would probably want to say third sector organizations more generally, is one that this government has been working hard to develop. That relationship is born out of a recognition that it is not possible for a government, any government, to do all that is necessary with respect to developing a nation. It is not possible. There are some places, some spaces where there is a need for the intervention of grassroots organizations. So that when I say to you, Mr. Deputy Speaker, that, and I have this conversation with public officers in my ministry from time to time, I sometimes say that you cannot, there are some situations where you cannot, it is difficult, let me phrase it this way, it is difficult to replicate the passion of, for example, a person who has a disability and who is championing the cause for people with disabilities. It is difficult, if not impossible, to replicate that passion through a person who either does not or does not believe that he or she has a disability. You can have a passion, you can have a desire, you can have a strong will to. But those who are touched are those who really feel it. And so it is necessary for third sector organizations generally, and we consider that faith-based organizations are members of that third sector community. We applaud their work. We encourage their work. We ask them to continue the sterling service that they've been given to this country. We recognize the passion that they bring to their work, to the exercise of their responsibilities. We recognize that it is not possible really to replicate it, and we encourage them to do all that they set out to do. We promise as a government that we will hold their hands, Mr. Deputy Speaker, that we will work with them in ensuring that they are able to deliver on the mandates that they have, that they're able to deliver on the ideas that they have that they've developed. Many of them have developed the ideas in association with others. We commit, just as this resolution seeks to do, we commit to working with all of our third sector organizations. We commit to working with our faith-based organizations so that together, as a country, as partners in national development, we can see the realization of their dreams. We can see the development of this nation. Mr. Deputy Speaker, I'm obliged to you, and I support this resolution before this honorable chair.
Thank you. Honourable member for St. George South.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. You know, the honourable member for Christchurch South is laughing. He knows why he's laughing. And Mr. Speaker, Mr. Deputy Speaker, the honourable member, first let me thank those members who spoke in this debate with respect to the sale of land to the Wesleyan Church and the use of the current Wesleyan facility that will be transformed into a resource center, or I should say a community center. But, you know, the honourable member spent the afternoon, the past hour in his speech, repeating the bank, the bank, the bank. And this country, I piloted that debate with respect to the licensing of the land to the African Export-Import Bank. And we should not be ashamed of this. $7 million to be placed in an urban transformation fund. $7 million to address housing in the urban corridor, in the environs of the city of Bridgetown. And a further $400 million in deals that will come to Barbados in terms of investment. And I ain't finished there, $2.5 billion that will come to the region. So I don't know where the honourable member today began this discourse. He's not comparing apples with apples. And then he is seeking to bring the Wesleyan Church as a little political football. That's what he did today. But this is not George Street. That's where the political football is. Don't use my church as no political ploy, no political football. Don't do that. And you should know better. You came up in the Wesleyan church. And to suggest that you had conversations with members of the Wesleyan church is indeed misleading. Is indeed misleading. The pastor of the Wesleyan church approached the Ministry of Housing to purchase this land. And I said it from 1977, the diocesan trustees, they were paying rent to the government for this land. So since when have we done something wrong or something bad to the church? Since when? From 1977, we passed through several governments. The Bath plantation that this government bought. And you want to talk about the bank. You're not comparing apples with apples. At a value of $1 per square foot, close to $1 that we are selling land to the church, and the church is happy. You are seeking to bring the church, to use the church as a political football to score cheap political points. It was not accepted. Therefore, I show you the comments coming from the church today. You indeed would keep out of St. John. You would keep out of St. John. But Mr. Speaker, Deputy Speaker, it is late. And I again thank on behalf of the church. And it so happened that the pastor of the Ellington Wesleyan Holiness Church is also the pastor of the Victory Wesleyan Holiness Church. That should tell you something. How do you know that? He's my pastor. He's my pastor. I would take you to Victory, but I don't think you can go to Welch, sir. The people don't want to see you in Welch. I may get stoned. G65, 67 may be in trouble driving through Welch behind you or in front of you. But, Mr. Deputy Speaker, I want to thank the members who spoke, member for St. James, for St. Peter, the member for St. George North, and I heard you, member, and certainly from tomorrow, you know charity begins at home. We will be looking to see how best we can take this land and utilize to the Wesleyan Holiness Church in St. James North. And in St. James North. So, St. James North, St. George North, sorry. St. George North, thank you, member. My mind is on St. James North for another reason, all right? Because there are some other matters relating to land that we are treating with right now in St. James North. And you, certainly, the member for Christchurch South, you spent at least 3 weeks in St. James North and you made no impact. And we are making sure when you go back to St. James North, it will be lesser of an impact. So that is why St. James North is on my mind. But the member for St. George North, you rest assured that we will be addressing this matter on behalf of that lovely Woburn Church in Flat Rock. So, Mr. Deputy Speaker, with those few words, I beg that this resolution to vest the sale of 2,467 square meters and 26,562.10 square feet of land to the Wesleyan Holiness Church and the lease of 319 square meters of land, including, do one at a time? Sorry. I beg that the resolution for the sale of 26,562.1 square meters of land to the Wesleyan Church, Victory Wesleyan Holiness Church, do now pass.
The question is that this resolution vesting $2,467.7 square meters of land do no pass. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All against, please say no. I think the ayes have it.
Order number 9, sir. In the name of the Honourable Minister of Housing, Lands and Maintenance, to move the passing of a resolution to approve in accordance with Section 5 of the Crown Lands Vesting and Disposal Act, Chapter 225, the lease to the Pilgrim Holiness Church, the Wesleyan Holiness Church, of a parcel of land the property of the state situate at Bath in the parish of St. John in this island, and more particularly described in the first schedule on the terms and conditions set out in the second schedule for the purpose to operate and undertake its church services.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, I beg that the resolution to lease 311.9 square meters of land situated at Wealth Village, Bath St. John to the Victory Wesleyan Holiness Church do now pass.
Question is that 311.9 square meters of land situated at Welch's Village, Bath St. John do no pass. All those members in favor, please say aye. All against, please say no. I think the ayes have it.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, recommittal of government notices.
Leader of Government Business.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. I beg to give notice of the Criminal Proceedings Witness Anonymity Bill 2025, as well as the Police Amendment Bill 2025, also the Interception of Communications Bill 2025, and the Family Leave Bill 2025.
Recommittal of first readings of bills.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, I beg to move the first reading of the Criminal Proceedings Witness Anonymity Bill 2025, the Police Amendment Bill 2025, the Interception of Communications Bill 2025, and the Family Leave Bill 2025.
The question is, those mentioned bills be read the first time. All those members in favor, please say aye. All those against, please say no. I think the ayes have it.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. I beg to move, therefore, the adjournment of the House until Tuesday, the 12th of August at 10 a.m.
The question is, beg someone second? All right. The question is that this House do not stand adjourned until the 12th of August at 10 a.m. All those honorable members in favor, please say aye. All against, please say no. I think the ayes have it. This House now stands adjourned until the 12th of August, 2025.